Radio Energy, broadcasting to you live. Go to radioenerg.net.
So we're going to go on, talk about our nearest neighbours and also group leaders at the moment, and that is England. So, Jamie, I'll come to you first. You know quite a bit about England, and talk about Wayne Rooney.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's getting hounded out basically by the fans, saying somebody said he's not reached his full potential, but the guy's like 30-something, so he obviously has. But he's a bit past it, and he was captain for a while as well. He still is captain, isn't he?
Still is captain.
Still is captain. So, what would you do if you were the England manager, if you were Gareth Southgate for the moment anyway?
So basically the context of all of this was that England were playing Malta at home on Saturday. They had a fairly routine 2-0 win, except the game was marked by Wayne Rooney playing in central midfield, which of course he doesn't play. Mourinho said at the start of the season he is not a central midfield player. And Rooney was booed by some sections of the England fans for his performance, and I think it was just generally a sign of his reputation at the moment and his standing in the England team. And
did you see his stats?
His stats? I didn't see his stats.
He had 25 touches of the ball, and not a single one of them were in the opposition's half.
Really?
Yeah, so
okay, so that sort of shows you.
What is he, one of the Premier League's top goal scorers of all time?
Yeah.
And he's playing defensive midfield.
He's playing number 4 for England. So that goes on to Tuesday night. England then were playing Slovenia away from home, and Rooney was dropped. Didn't play at all. He came off the bench, but England still drew 0-0. And basically the debate has been all about Wayne Rooney this week. He's still England's captain, but this has maybe been seen as the sort of defining moment in his career, where, not the defining moment in his career, but maybe the defining moment of the end of his career, where he's been dropped by Man United and he's now been dropped by England. And I guess the question is, can he find a way back? Personally, he's not good enough to play up front for England. Harry Kane's a better striker at the moment. He's not good enough to play number 10. I'd say Dele Alli's a better player in that position. And midfield, Rooney's never been a midfielder. He doesn't have the attributes for it. Henderson's a better midfielder. Eric Dyer's a better holding midfielder.
Yeah, okay.
You just have better options, and I just don't see how Rooney gets back in that team.
Yeah, it is obviously very difficult. He has been a servant for England for quite a long time as well. Bryce, do you think it's time for him, maybe like Scott Brown did, for example, just retire from international duty and focus on his club football?
Well, he has said that after the World Cup in 2 years' time he will retire.
Okay.
But whether he will make it to the tournament, but whether he features. Sorry, I've interrupted you, but there, Bryce.
Okay.
Bryce, same question again. Just going to ask.
I mean, the number one rule is if you're not starting for your club, you don't deserve to start for your country.
Yeah.
I think that's very clearly easy to see, and unfortunately Rooney's now getting outplayed by youth players like Rashford, who are just at the moment better, scoring more goals, being more consistent, more threatening in front of goal. Rooney hasn't done that for a long time. A few years, I'd say. And I think, I think it's time for him to move on. To be perfectly honest, from Manchester United, he's served them well. He's been really good. And I think it's just time for him to find a new challenge, maybe a slightly smaller club in the Premiership. Just see who wants him.
Yeah, definitely. And we've got a tweet in here from Christopher Neal saying Rooney should definitely play. It's like a kind of screen grab of the Sport Bible. It said Wayne Rooney haven't reached his full potential. You know how I love the Sport Bible. But he's actually, it says here, England's top goal scorer, most capped outfield player, and he's won everything he can at Man United.
Well, as a Scotland fan, thinking about that game in a few weeks' time, I would love Rooney to start against Scotland. Yeah. So, David, being a Man United fan, you got to like Wayne Rooney. Where do you see his career going from here?
I think he has to go. It's plain and simple. We're not ashamed against the fact he is an incredible player, one of the Premier League best players, up there with the likes of, say, Shearer and like Gary Lineker, like one of the best strikers that's ever graced the Premier League. But at the same time, your career can only heighten that much, and I think the last time I saw Wayne had a really, really good season was that season, which funnily enough was the season that Man United struggled, which was the season under David Moyes, where he and I think De Gea were the two players that kind of stood out and were kind of carrying the team that season, because I think everyone expected, but not as much, when Sir Alex left, that the intensity and the kind of the benchmark performances that was set by Sir Alex were going to drop when a new manager came in. And I think from those years after Moyes, and you had Louis van Gaal, now you've got Jose Mourinho, and each year has gone on that the expectations have got lower, the intensity's got lower. I think Louis van Gaal had a much slower type of play. I think that suited Roy Hodgson as well. When he was in, he didn't have much intent, and that's what happened at the Euros, where the intense wasn't as good, as intense as the other teams in the Euros, and that's how I think why England struggled. So now you've got Gareth Southgate coming in, and you've got Jose Mourinho coming in for Manchester United as well, respectively, and both managers have an intense style of play, and Rooney, being the age he is, I don't think is suited to it anymore. If he is to go to anywhere else, I agree with Bryce that it has to be maybe another Premier League side. I was even saying myself he could go to maybe like a French team like say Monaco and live out his last few years as
a beautiful few seasons on this earth
as a footballer.
Yeah.
And you've seen with like the likes, I'm just thinking of an equivalent of like say Steven Gerrard. Steven Gerrard still, I would, he's a rival, but he's still an incredible player. But you see incredible players like that going out to America to play the last few years there and just kind of enjoy his career and maybe just making a bit of extra cash. So I think, it's time for Wayne to go. I think he needs to go somewhere he'll get first team action and intense first team action. At that, he can't really go to the kind of say the Qatar League or something like that, where it's not as widely watched or as intense. So it's a similar situation with Joe Hart. Joe Hart was sent on loan because he needed first team action if he were to play for England, and I think the same principle applies to Rooney.
Yep, so you have basically answered the question I was going to ask you next. Should they go abroad or something? So thank you. But I'm going to kind of, even as he's getting towards the end of the career, David, do you think he can maybe step into a coaching role similar to Ryan Giggs at Man United?
I've never seen Wayne Rooney as a coach. I think, if anything, he probably end up being like similar to maybe, say, like Gary Neville as like a pundit or like a analyst in games. I don't see Wayne going into the coaching, and if he were to be going to kind of coaching role, it wouldn't be immediately. I think he would like to take maybe about 5 to 10 years out. I would like to think. From what I've seen in his social media accounts, he's quite a fan of golf, so I think he'd like to play a few years of golf before he likes to jump in. Yes, of course.
Nice.
Monaco, bizarrely.
And before he jumps into anything else, I think. But yeah, there's definitely a future for Rooney. If it's at Manchester United still, I'm not sure. I'll just have to wait and see.
Alright, great. And I'm going to just quickly mention Gareth Southgate as well. And does any of you think he should be the next England manager?
I think it's...
Because it is the next logical step for me personally.
Would you say so? I think it's very hard to say after only 2 games. 2 games, by the way, one more than Sam Allardyce ever had.
Yes, yeah, true.
So at least he's.
You mean the best England manager of all time?
Of course, statistically, yes.
Statistically,
yeah.
Has he?
Yeah, well, he played 100%. Played 1-1.
Nice, I like it.
So based on that, Southgate should get the sack. He's not as good as Big Sam was. In all seriousness, no. I don't really know whether Southgate is the right man for the job. It's very hard to tell based on the evidence that we've seen. I mean, Southgate had good results with the under-21s, but before that, he got relegated with Middlesbrough, and he hadn't had another job since then. And I think he'll be given it on a permanent basis until the summer, and I think we'll see what happens then. But I can't see the FA making a long-term decision on the basis of the past week.
Get in touch. Go on. Tweet at Radio ENRG. Email radioenrg@gmail.com.